Good morning, America. Good to see you. I'm Vanessa Broussard. Happy to have you here with us this morning. Tonight, President Trump will deliver a nationally televised address from the White House at 9 p.m. Eastern. It'll air right here on Lindell TV. Insiders say the president will discuss election security, recently declassified intelligence, and concerns involving voting systems. We are anticipating a big night. Let's bring in Patrick Colbeck with the Election Crime Bureau. Patrick, the president teased that tonight is going to be huge. What are you hearing?
I'm hearing it is going to be huge, and I got some pretty simple objectives for what I'm looking forward to hear from the president tonight. And number one is destroy that false narrative that there is no evidence of election interference in the 2020 election. Um, Folks like myself, I call them meddling kids all across the world, not just the United States, all across the world, have been investigating this for years. And just the information that's available on open source indicates that there's some monkey business going on in the 2020 election. Hopefully tonight, with the declassified information that the president has, we're going to see a heck of a lot more. So that's one of my major hopes for tonight. Second in that list is going to be I'm looking forward to seeing at least one indictment. And I think Jack Smith, with his actions in support of Operation Arctic Frost, would be kind of a logical starting point. But you know what? I'll take any any and all right now because there's plenty of folks to hold accountable for their actions under the previous administration. And last but not least, what are we going to do to secure this upcoming 2026 election? So I think those are kind of my three core objectives. We'll see what happens, but I'm excited. I think a lot of people are excited. I'm looking forward to seeing Mike Lindell in particular be exonerated. I think the timing of this address is perfect in considering the president's endorsement of Mike for his gubernatorial race as an election integrity stalwart. It's kind of a good 1-2 punch.
Absolutely. And so, good rundown there of what you're expecting tonight is what we're all expecting and hoping to hear from the president. I think it's very interesting to note what you just said. One of the things you're looking forward to, as am I, is hearing the proof come out because the left and also the mainstream media will say there's no proof. You know, you hear from Democrat congressmen and leaders all the time saying there's no proof. Well, you've shown the proof. You've shown hundreds of pages of proof on the Election Crime Bureau website. We know that there's more. Anticipating these declassified documents that we're hoping to see tonight. But jumping ahead, I know mainstream media, that's my background, like the back of my hand. You've dealt with them too. We all know how corrupt they can be. They're going to try to say that this still isn't true. There's still no evidence. They're going to debunk everything the president says tonight. We are calling it now. We know their playbook. We know how they are.
Yeah.
And we're going to go ahead and put our bet on they're going to debunk his claims tonight, even though he'll bring the receipts, Patrick.
Yeah, they've already written the story for tonight. You know that as well as I do, and it reminds me of when I was a little kid. We used to have these Mad Libs that we would do on vacation, and these Mad Libs had the story already written. And what they do is they ask for these random adjectives and nouns to fill in some blank spots in the story. And so then you read it back and it sounds really funny, right? Well, this isn't funny. They're doing Mad Lib journalism, and I don't think it's a coincidence that most of them are mad liberals. I think the story is already written. I think they're going to, matter of fact, I've already seen it. They're trying to pre-bunk the president's address when they haven't even seen what he's going to be talking about. And I think that's pretty powerful. Now, I think the media reacts in one of three ways to this. Whenever evidence is presented on the topic of election integrity in particular, number one, they'll mock it, which is what they did to Peter Navarro's initial report back in December of 2020, which was pretty broad and expansive and addressed a bunch of anomalies all across the country that should have been a predicate for criminal investigations. Number two, they'll praise it if it's something that they agree with, like the lost, not stolen report put out supposedly by Republicans, talking about how there were 64 lawsuits decided against the president. And if there was any evidence, it would have been shown. We know now, of course, in the wake of the Bose versus Illinois ruling, that most of those cases were dismissed on the basis of standing, which in itself was unconstitutional per the Supreme Court. And then the third way that they go off and treat this is by ignoring it and pretending that that tree fallen in the wilderness doesn't make any sound whatsoever. And I think, the more compelling what the president has to say tonight is, the more likely that last case is going to be, because that's what they've tried to do. They tried to censor folks like myself, yourself, Mike Lindell, across the board. When I released that report that you showed, um, there was not a blip on the radar from the major media outlets for a 799-page report with 824 findings backed by 2,517 citations. They can't dismiss it, so they ignore it. And so we'll see what happens tonight. I mean, I know they're right now the media outlets are getting pressured not to even air the address. The Democrats are saying, nope, you shouldn't air this. He's just going to rehash a bunch of old 2020 nonsense here. And so there are indications that they are going to try to ignore this, but we'll see what happens.
And that's another big red flag for the public. As President Trump came out, Patrick, in 2016 and said fake news. That was his slogan. And I was working in the mainstream at the time. And I would tell people it's not just a slogan. I live it. I breathe it. I see it every single day. The president is absolutely right. The American people started waking up. They started seeing, wait a minute, the media is not on our side for the first time in history. You look back generations ago, years ago, decades ago. What did people do, Patrick? We went home, people got off work, they watched the 6 o'clock news, they watched the 10 o'clock news, and they trusted the people on the other side bringing them the news every single night. But here we are now in the last decade because of President Trump, and people have awakened to the fact that the mainstream media is not on our side. And so if they decide not to air this tonight, that is just another red flag that they are keeping evidence away from the American people. It's part of their game. It's part of their plan to lodge the truth, to make sure that the American people aren't notified of the truth. But again, I can't emphasize this enough. We are not that outlet. We are not those people. We will air his speech right here on Lindell TV tonight, because what the president says and what he is showing tonight, we want to make sure it gets to the American people.
Yeah, I think failure to show this indicates that they are complicit with the narrative that the 2020 election wasn't stolen, and when all the evidence, it contradicts that, it's quite revealing. And I should point out, in that report that we were talking about, I outlined 10 unique attack vectors against our election system, because our election systems are critical infrastructure. An attack against our critical infrastructure is no different from a tank rolling across the border and trying to take over the United States via force like that. It's an attack. And one of the mechanisms for attacking our infrastructure, our election systems, is via the control of information. And there's a whole attack vector specific to that topic. And I want to point out one of the key findings that is in the report on that topic deals with an organization called the Election Integrity Partnership, which was actually formed to suppress the release of information, viable information around findings specific to the 2020 election. And they actually had the federal government through CISA, through the Global Engagement Center, through the EI Isaac Centers, actively suppressing specific news stories, such as the Hunter Biden laptop story, and the truth that it was not Russian disinformation. 10% for the big guy meant that Joe Biden was on the take with the Chinese government, and that was actively suppressed by the media in collusion with the federal government. These and agents inside the federal government that had their own political bias in mind. And I have a feeling tonight we're going to hear all about political bias within the federal workforce.
Absolutely. I mean, this has been a long time coming. It's a day we've all been waiting for. And so I hope that we're all right in what we're speculating from the president's speech tonight. Another one of on your list that you mentioned tonight was outlining measures that will be taken to secure the 2026 elections. Um, Patrick, the Save America Act, I
Sure.
just don't even know where to begin to try to understand why this thing is not getting passed. It boggles my mind blown that it's not being passed. Our Allison Steinberg actually talked to John Thune yesterday because they're going on a huge recess here in a couple of weeks. So they're going to be gone for a month. And we have a big, huge midterm. Every election's important, but we have midterms, which will make or break our country coming up in November. So she asked him, are you going to get any work done before you go on this long recess? Here's that exchange.
Leader Thune, Senators Mike Lee and Rick Scott are both calling on the Senate to stay in session and bypass any recesses or weekends to get the Save America Act across the finish line. Is that something that you're open to and would support?
Well, if I thought there was a path to getting a positive result or a positive outcome, I'd do want to do just about anything, because I think we are all here in favor of the Save America Act. The folks that have consistently block voted against it are all the Democrats in the United States Senate. And I think that's unlikely to change. And it's also very unlikely that the Senate Republicans are going to vote to get rid of the legislative filibuster. So we had 5 votes on it. We have voted on the entire Save America Act. We have voted on photo ID as a separate issue. We have voted on photo ID and registration, or citizenship to register. Had that amendment. We've had a vote on boys competing dual sports. We've had 5 now votes on the Save America Act or individual components of it, none of which got a single Democrat. To me, the issue here is the Democrats, and we ought to be going after them for opposing something that's popular across this country, not just with Republicans, but with Democrats as well.
Patrick, I don't know. Think about this.
All right,
For a second. Let's put a scenario in place. You're a boss and your staff has a project that's very important and it's needed by November. Before your staff goes on vacation for a month, don't you think you'd say, hey, before you go anywhere, you're going to get this project done, or you're not going anywhere. This project has to be done. No, just don't have the votes. Everybody go, to your respective states and just dilly-dally around for a month. Enjoy yourself. Well, you don't have a country to save. It's okay. We don't have elections to save. It's okay. Go enjoy your month off. I don't understand it at all.
Well, here, let me put it in focus. Until we actually restore election integrity, we are not his boss. He was selected, not elected, across the board. I hate to say that, but that seems to be the case. And so he is beholden to other people that typically have a lot of money funding his campaigns. And I'm saying this as a former state senator. I know how the game works. I've been in leadership. I understand what's being done, but here's a bright spot. If you very careful to parse his words, and he said, if I saw a path to passing it with a positive outcome, I would do so. Well, I think that path to a positive outcome just happened in the guise of the House tie-barring, essentially making it so that the National Defense Authorization Act does not get passed without the Save America Act being passed at the same time. And that is being passed over into the Senate. And from what I understand, Thune has been receptive to bundling the Save America Act with the National Defense Authorization Act. And so we'll see what happens. That may be the path that we were looking for. Tonight's speech by President Trump, of course, can be the catalyst to making sure that happens before the senators disappear on break.
I always love hearing from Senator Kennedy from Louisiana. He's always got something great to say. Allison also caught up with him yesterday about voting in America. Let's listen to that exchange now.
The way to fix people's confidence in our elections is 2 simple rules. Number 1, you have to prove you are who you say you are in order to register to vote and to vote. And I think we ought to go back to having an election day, not an election month, so that we know on election night or very shortly thereafter who the winner is. Now, how you vote is up to the states, in my opinion. I have my own preferred way of voting. You probably have yours. But I think if we went back to those 2 rules, the American people, both Democrats and Republicans and independents, would, after an election, say, well, I'm happy or I'm disappointed, but at least it was fair.
Mike Lee and Rick Scott are both calling for the Senate to stay in session through recesses and weekends to get the Save America Act across the finish line. Is that something you would also
I'm
support?
okay with that. I've said I'll support anything that'll realistically try to get the SAVE Act passed. I think it's a good piece of legislation.
Your reaction, Patrick?
Well, I mean, we've got till October 1st to get a National Defense Authorization Act, or else we got troops in the field that are not getting funded. And that is not good, whether you got an R next to your name or a D next to your name. So there should be an impetus to get it across the finish line in that context alone. So I'm optimistic based on what I heard from Senate Majority Leader Thune. He did parse his words very carefully, which left the door open for some sort of action before the break. So we're going to find out a lot more after tonight, and a lot rests on this. A lot of people have been anticipating this address, and I think it's going to have a lot of downstream impacts, if you will, particularly on the passage of the Save America Act.
Yep, that's Address to the Nation, again, 9 p.m. Eastern tonight here on Lindell TV. We'll have that for you live for everyone watching at home. Patrick, let's talk about Mike Lindell now. Huge endorsement yesterday from the president. The Minnesota GOP, the Uniparty, they're not too happy about the endorsement. But look, this is the same career politicians in the state of Minnesota who let fraud go on in their state. And here you have a businessman who's coming in, who has fought for our country, who has fought for our elections to be secure, who has lost so much in his efforts to do so. He's still standing after attack after attack after attack. And the people love Mike Lindell. President Trump endorsed him yesterday. The Minnesota GOP, not too happy about it. But President Trump strikes back in a second post about Amy Klobuchar as well, and why she's not the right person for the job. So a little battle going on immediately after that endorsement was announced yesterday.
Yeah, I think that the chairman of the Minnesota GOP's statement is actually going to work to Mike's benefit. Let's put it this way: anybody who's got an R next to their name or voting Republican in the state of Minnesota is going to look at the past performance of the Minnesota GOP and realize that the last time they had a Republican governor, it was well over 16 years ago with Governor Tim Pawlenty. And so their job performance hasn't exactly been up to par. Matter of fact, they're the ones responsible for giving the people of Minnesota Tim Walz and all the fraud that he's enabled throughout that state. So I think this is actually going to work in Mike's favor. And by the way, this kind of party infighting is not specific to Minnesota. It happened in my home state of Michigan. It's happening all across the country. And the bottom line is, who are you serving? We brought it up when we were talking about Senator Thune. Who's his boss, right? I think sometimes folks like this Alex guy in Minnesota forgets who the boss is, and the boss is the people, and the people are ultimately going to decide it. And there's no doubt in my mind that people all across Minnesota, all across America, love Mike Lindell. He is the best candidate to take on Amy Klobuchar, and I think ultimately he's going to win in the general election, become the next governor of Minnesota.
You look at all the fraud going on in the state, Patrick. You have Nick Shirley, who uncovered all of this fraud. A lot of arrests have been made, indictments. You have Dr. Oz right here. He's now in the state of Minnesota, on the ground there, working alongside Nick Shirley. Who in their right mind would want this going on in their state and also continue to vote for the same people who have been in office while this is going on? I would want a clean house and bring in someone new. That right there is a deciding factor alone for me as a voter.
Yeah, and not just anybody, but somebody like Mike Lindell, who's been over the target on fraud for quite some time. And you've worked with Mike long enough. I've worked with Mike for quite a few years now. And he's got a very keen sense or keen instinct of when something is rotten in Denmark. And he's very good with numbers. And I'll tell you, when you see the billions and billions of dollars in fraud that have been wasted in the state of Minnesota, Mike would have been all over that well before it became a national news story that required a generation. I forget what generation Nick Shirley then, but he's a younger kid going out there and breaking the news that frankly should have been out there for a long time with our quote unquote seasoned reporters. And he did a great job of getting that information out. Mike's got that instinct to detect that stuff. He knows how these folks think, and he'll sniff it out and fix it. And he does not rest at all until it's fixed. And I know that firsthand.
And also, you look at the GOP in Minnesota, their statement from the chairman yesterday, who I don't know this person well. I'm just learning more about him as the days progress. And from what I'm
Yeah.
reading from people, he's not well respected from a lot of the voters there in Minnesota. And I can see why, because he put out a nasty statement yesterday. It was
Oh,
plumb
it was
nasty,
mean.
targeting,
Yeah.
yes, Mike
And
Lindell.
a lie. It was
And
lying.
yes, and you look at the attacks, and he brought it up in his statement, the attacks, or not the attacks, the what Mike Lindell's gone through is because of the attacks. Well, the chairman, I can promise you, the chairman and Amy Klobuchar and the Waltzes of Minnesota, they could never have survived what Mike Lindell has survived. Mike Lindell is still standing because he's a fighter and he loves the people. Patrick, I have been at rallies with
Yeah.
Mike Lindell, President Trump's rallies, and he will not sit in his seat until he has shaken hands with every person, taken selfies with every person. He has told me, Vanessa, I gotta go. I gotta get with the people. Like, he has told me that, like, he's got to go. He will, and there's lines of people, and he will not sit still until he hears their stories, talks to them.
Yep.
He loves the people. That's who he's fighting for. These others, what you just saw in that video, that's who they're defending. You can go to Congress all day long and say, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know billions of dollars of fraud was being, stolen, billions of dollars stolen from our taxpayers. Had no clue. How do you not know? Mike Lindell would never let that go on, ever.
Never. And I've experienced the same thing you have with Mike, Vanessa. I mean, I've been at lots of events with him, and he literally is nonstop. I mean, I'm finding out that my knees aren't as strong as they used to be because I can't keep up with somebody that's 5 years older than me on the floor. He's all over the place, and people
All
are
over.
nonstop getting photos, and he's always gracious about it. And by the way, that's also how you learn about fraud. You actually listen to the people. You don't have a bunch of handlers saying, nope, stay away. You got to keep a 6 foot distance here. He actually engages everybody. And I'll tell you, that's how you uncover fraud. You actually listen to the people. And one quick side note, I have a friend of mine that's very active in my home state's politics in Minnesota, in Michigan. And we got a lot of problems inside our party as well. But she came back from attending the Minnesota convention. She's a vendor. She sells some stuff out there. And she came back and said, you know what? I thought Michigan's GOP was corrupt, but it's nothing compared to what's going on in Minnesota. They are really
Yeah.
bad. So if this Alex guy is in charge of that system, maybe some of the fraud investigations, once Mike becomes governor, need to be directed at some of the party leadership. Here's the funny part about all this,
Absolutely. Turn the
Vanessa.
tables.
As soon as Mike wins that primary, guess who's going to be asked to go off and deliver keynotes at Lincoln Reagan dinners for the GOP up through the upcoming general election? It's going to be Mike's going to be the one asked all the time, and that chairman's going to have to be asking him. So we'll see what happens.
Well, they need to stand behind the president and who he endorses, Mike Lindell. And there's that big similarity. We've said it all along between President Trump. He was an outsider. He came
Yep.
in, the people loved him. They never thought that he would win. That was back in 2016. You have Mike Lindell. He's a political outsider. The people love him. And so you can fight the Uniparty and the Republicans and the Democrats and the independents all day long, but it's the people who you work for, like we've been saying. And Mike Lindell is a man of the people. All right, Patrick, we're starting to wrap up here. Again, any final words? We got to secure these elections. You work hard. You do such a great job. And I encourage everyone to continue to go follow you, not only on social media, but the website, Election Crime Bureau, to see your findings. Read for yourself. Don't wait for social media to tell you or the mainstream media to not tell you. Go look at the proof there. It's there on the website. Patrick did a great job of releasing documents, and it's all detailed there. You too brought the receipts, Patrick. So any
Yeah.
final words before we head into tonight's address to the nation with President Trump?
Well, I think President Trump's going to bring the receipts tonight, and we were talking about politicians, elected officials that go directly to the people. The main reason the president is doing this as a presidential address and not just a simple press briefing inside the White House is because he wants it to reach all of the American people and go around all the filters that we've been seeing in the media. You know, some of the media outlets that are even debating whether or not to even cover his address tonight. That's the beauty of President Trump, is that when he has something big, he's going to tell it to you, and he's going to tell it to you straight, and he's going to tell it to you directly. And I'm really looking forward to tonight's address, but I'm also looking forward to what happens in the wake of this address, because I think it's just the first of many.
Right. And again, like we said at the very beginning, we want to remind our viewers, look, we don't have a crystal ball, but we know the playbook. And so we're going to go ahead and place our bets that as soon as the president's done speaking tonight and that wraps up and they go to their panel for analysis afterwards, be expecting a lot of debunking going on from the mainstream media, but use your own brain, use your own judgment, and decide for yourself what you see tonight from the president. Patrick Colbeck, always a pleasure to have you on the show and talk to you. Love working with you and enjoy following all your findings and the hard work that you put into saving our country.
Oh, thank you very much. Knock 'em alive, Vanessa.
More to come here on My Mornings. We'll talk about Project 21 and also efforts for better communities all across America. We'll be right back.
Mike Lindell here. The radical left and the deep state aren't just coming for our freedoms, they're coming after our money too. For years, they've been destroying our economy from the inside out with reckless spending, open borders, woke policies that crush our businesses. And now they've left us with an inflation disaster that's wiping out the savings of our hardworking families. They don't want us to be independent. They want us to be dependent on the government. Well, that's not going to happen on my watch. That's why I partner with American Independence Gold. It's a veteran-owned company that's helping patriotic Americans fight back by protecting our savings with real physical gold and silver. And right now, they're giving away up to $15,000 in free silver and a free gold IRA kit. A portion of all the profits go to 9/11 first responders and veterans at the Tunnels to Towers Foundation. The deep state can't touch your gold, so visit MikeLindellGold.com or call 844-714-4653 right now. That's MikeLindellGold.com. Take back control. You know, most people think water's just about filtration, but in reality, it's about balance. What gets removed, what gets left behind, and how the water actually behaves once you drink it. Well, many traditional systems focus on one thing, removal. Reverse osmosis, for example, strips water down completely. It may sound ideal, but it removes minerals that our bodies need. The Century Wellness System was designed with a different philosophy. It removes common contaminants like chlorine, fluoride, and PFAS, while restoring key minerals like magnesium and improving alkalinity. It also does all this without tanks and without wastewater, and without requiring a complicated installation. It installs in about 15 minutes under your sink, so instead of overcorrecting, it brings your water back into balance. Please visit CenturyH2O.com and use promo code Lindell for 10% off your next purchase. Well, hello everyone. Well, I'm turning 65, and let me tell you, Medicare has me confused. All the junk mail and the robocalls and everything else, it honestly feels like they rigged the system just to confuse us. Well, that's why I partnered and working with Chapter. They're independent and they don't work for big insurance. They work for us. In fact, they're the only advisor that compares every single plan nationwide to find what actually fits your needs. If you're on the right plan, they tell you. If you're not, they're going to help you switch. And it's completely free. Just last year, seniors saved about $1,100 by finding a better plan with Chapter. So call chapter at 234 Lindell or go to askchapter.org/Lindell.
Welcome back to My Mornings. Grassroots activism. The change this country needs comes from ordinary people with ordinary lives, but we must get involved. Craig DeLuz is with us this morning to discuss efforts going on all across the country. Craig, good to have you on the show. Thank you so much for stopping by. You know, a question I get a lot is from people asking, what can they do? How can they get involved? And the answer is start at home in your community. Let's talk about grassroots activism and how you're involved with that.
Well, my involvement in politics actually started back when I was in college, and I decided that, I wanted to get involved in student government. And when I started to do that, I started to realize how many decisions were being made that affected my life every day that I had no idea about. So if I could tell anybody anything, the first thing is just get involved and get engaged. Start local, start small. Start if you have kids in school, start with the school site council or with the parent teacher group. Get involved in your local community association. And what's going to happen is you're going to find out there's a whole lot of meetings where a lot of decisions are being made that are impacting you, impacting your family, impacting your livelihood that you had no idea about. And that in and of itself is going to encourage you to get engaged.
Absolutely. You know, you look at what's happening in our schools. You mentioned getting involved with your school districts, your child's school. Be a homeroom mom. You know, I know everyone works and there's a lot going on every single day, and it's hard to, just go day by day with after school activities and things like that. But when you're involved, you start noticing things that you like, things that you may not like. And if you get involved, you can have a voice for your child. And so, yes, you're absolutely right. Go to school board meetings, go talk to your school's principal, your child's teacher. You know, I dropped my little one off at school the other day. And when I sat down, Craig, I sat down in the classroom before I left him in the classroom and I talked to the teacher. I want to know, what are they learning today? What's the outline for today going to be? So I get a little idea of, what's going on inside the classroom. I'm not just dropping him off and then going about my way, right? And so once you start doing that, that's the way. And so what people need to understand is that when you start at the local level and you get involved, that takes care of your community, which then takes care of your state, which then takes care of the nation. So even though, you see here on the news, we're covering a lot of politics in Washington, D.C., it's these grassroots efforts that are really saving America.
The founding fathers envisioned a government that was limited and local, where the people making decisions were closest to the people who were going to be impacted. Number one, so that they could be held accountable. And number two, so that they would know what's going on the ground. They would have a detailed understanding of the nuance, right? Someone in Washington, D.C. has absolutely no idea what it's like and what we're dealing with here in Sacramento, California. Someone in Sacramento, California, our state capital, has no idea what's going on in a place like Redding, California, which is in the most northern part of the state. If you have the ability to make decisions, you know all the variables that are going on. And when you know and you understand that, you can make decisions that are best for your community. There's a big move out there to try and centralize our governmental decisions. They want Washington, D.C. In fact, they want a small number of people in Washington, D.C. to make up decisions for every single one of us, whether or not they know our families, they know our situations, they know our industries. And so I've always chosen to be involved at the local level. I've been a school board member for going on 22 years. I've been involved in local politics. I'm the first vice chairman of our local county Republican Party. I've been involved and engaged not just in the development of policy, but in helping elect people who share my values.
And we love people like you, Craig, because, it's the work that you put in, and it's everyday people like you who started in college. And we're seeing a lot of that now, thanks to Charlie Kirk with Turning Point USA. These kids are really getting involved at a younger age. We also talk about Run Gen Z. Run Gen Z their effort is to get the younger generation involved in politics, involved in their communities, to run for local offices and really start, starting them off young to get involved because that's where it begins. And so you, if anyone knows, you too got started in college, how important this is at such a young age. Get them registered to vote. Let them know how important this is. Election day, midterms are coming up. As a parent, as a guardian, you need to teach your kids that this is very important because they're not going to learn it in the outside world. You do efforts all over the country. I know you do a lot in California as well, correct? But let's talk about Black America, the rise of socialism and why it is misguided for Black America.
So there's a big move right now, in particular in the Democratic Party, to basically by a group called the Democratic Socialists of America. It is literally a separate political party that is trying in a process of taking over the Democratic Party. It is where all of their energy is coming from. It is where all of their youth is. And this is a group that basically is not interested in democratic policies, and they're not interested in the democratic process. Their goal is communism. Their goal is socialism. Their goal is to undo our free market economy and basically have it and redistribute all the wealth and have it controlled by a central governing authority there in Washington, D.C. And these are not my words. These are their words. These are the goals that they have set forth. Well, what they're doing is they're coming in and they're going after longtime Democratic elected officials. And they're unseating them. They're having a ton of success. Look at what's going on in New York. Look at what's going on in Michigan. There was a race in Colorado where that exact same thing happened. And what's happening is that they're seeking to undo an economic system that has been successful in raising peoples across the globe out of poverty. There is no economic system that has been more successful in alleviating poverty than free market economics. And by the way, that includes, despite what many Black leaders will tell you, Black Americans. We are the freest, we are the most educated, and we are the most wealthy peoples of African descent in the world. And yet, for some reason, you have the Democratic Socialists who are convincing us that we are being held down, that we are being oppressed, that nothing has changed since we have been freed from slavery. And it's this complete rewriting of the narrative of America that they are seeking to do so that they can institute the policies and institute the programs of wealth redistribution. And it's going to harm, once again, the most challenged communities within the United States first, among them being Black Americans.
Craig, do you remember when Governor Newsom was speaking on stage at an event not long ago, and there were minorities in the crowd, and the comments he made it sound like he couldn't read, he couldn't do well on a SAT score, and then he says, "I'm just like you." Who says that? And why would you degrade someone like that or a group like that? African American people have there's so many successful I have so many successful African American friends. I support their small businesses, love voting for them in local elections if they're fit for the job. Why would you say something like that? And then you have so many who believe people like Gavin Newsom when they say, like you just mentioned, the African American community is oppressed when he just sat there on stage and degraded you.
Well, keep in mind that the racism of the Democratic Party is nothing new. I mean, let's remember, they're the ones who fought to keep slavery. They're the ones who instituted Jim Crow. The Ku Klux Klan was founded out of the Democratic Party, and their racism has morphed into this paternalistic. Well, these people can't do for themselves, so therefore we must do for them. As opposed to that of most conservatives that are like, look, we all have the same ability. We are all created equal. We all should have the equal opportunity to be able to succeed in this country. And that's really all the promise is that you and I have the same ability to succeed. Does not necessarily guarantee the same outcome.
You're absolutely right. Right. But we all have the same ability to succeed. How can we change the narrative? We talked about this with my earlier guest, Craig, Patrick Colbeck. You know, the mainstream media, social media, the left, they are putting stuff out constantly, brainwashing people. How can we fix that narrative?
Well, the first thing we have to do is and I understand the concept of a quote unquote colorblind society. The idea is we ought to treat everyone equally. But here's the deal, not everyone is the same. Like 2 and 2 is 4, 1 and 3 is 4. They're equal, but they're not the same. When you come to Black people and you say, well, I'm colorblind, I don't see race, what you're telling people who do see race is you're telling them that I don't see a part of your identity. What's more important to say is that, look, I recognize that you have a unique experience here in America. I have a unique experience here in America, but we have a common experience. We have shared values. Focusing on the things that bring us together, you don't have to necessarily acknowledge or recognize the things that are the differences, but it's important that we not ignore them, right? That we not when someone says I identify as, for example, I identify as a Christian man, right? If you say, well, I don't see religion, well, then you're taking a significant part of who I am, and you're saying that you don't recognize it. So part of it is recognizing those things that are important to people, and once again, that are part of their identity. Then encourage them that that's just part of who you are. That doesn't fully define who you are as a person, as an American, as a human being. So I think that's a big part of it. The other part is we have to show up. In many cases, Republican, because we're not generally elected in a lot of these communities, we don't show up. So if people don't care, if people don't know you, if you're never there, then all that happens is Democrats are in a position where they can basically say whatever they want about you. They get the opportunity to lie about you. But when you actually show up, when you're there, you're involved and engaged in the issues that are impacting those communities, people see how much you care, right? They now know how much you care. So now they will care about how much you know. I'm a Republican. I'm elected in an area that is 60% Democrat. And I've been on the school board for 20 plus years. And that's because they see the work that I've been doing. And that's something that we've got to do more. Be involved, be engaged in communities and working on the issues that are impacting those communities.
Very well said, Craig. You're amazing, and thank you for, as a mother, for your work on the school board, because I know you do a great job protecting our children and fighting for our children. We do have a couple of minutes left. I want to talk about Project 21. Tell us about their work and how people can get involved there.
Well, because African Americans and Blacks tend to vote largely Democratic, a lot of people think that we are of one mind politically, that when it comes to public policy issues, we think one way. And that is just not true. Project 21 brings together hundreds of thought leaders, issue area experts from across the diaspora of professions and issue areas to provide commentary, to provide insight, to provide a perspective that you normally don't hear from the Black community. And they work to help get that message out, not just to conservatives, but to the mainstream media as well, to show that we are as ideologically diverse as any other group here in America.
All right. Well, I encourage everyone to get involved there. What a great group. We've talked about Project 21 here on the show before, and so it's good to revisit Project 21 and get people involved. Craig, a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks for all you do and getting the word out. I know there's a lot of misconceptions out there, but it's people like you who hit the ground running every single day, fighting for your community, our communities, and our country. So we thank you for that, and thanks for stopping by today.
I very much appreciate the opportunity.
And more news when we come back. Stay with us. We'll take a look at opening numbers on Wall Street and also a new coin with President Trump's face on it. But first, a look at the Grand Prix coming to Washington, D.C.
Welcome to Vocal, the free speech social app that gives you a platform to amplify your voice. Speak freely, connect boldly, and be part of a growing movement for truth, faith, and freedom. Want to know what's happening right now? The Now Playing feature shows you exactly who's live and what's streaming in real time. Check out the show's feed, a non-stop lineup including LINDELLTV News 24/7, shows and on-demand programming all in one place. Connect with your favorite host and never miss a show. Explore the featured page for quick access to LINDELLTV's top shows. Follow your favorites and watch their newest content flow right into your feed. And when they go live on Vocal, you can join the live chat and be part of the action. Ask questions, share your thoughts, even help shape future shows. Stay informed on issues around securing our elections by following your state's Cause of America account. Join a group and connect on a deeper level, from faith and freedom to the future of our nation. Go to vocal.com or download the app today and be a part of the mission to save our country.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets, as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, My Pillow mattresses and My Pillow mattress toppers, as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets. Regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, regular $49.98, on sale for $17.98. Wait on it, mega sale, only $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But wait, there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's going to ship absolutely free.
Welcome back to my mornings, taking a look at Wall Street on this Thursday morning, opening bell numbers, a live look from marketwatch.com. You're looking at the big board. Taking a look at the Dow is up a little bit at this hour. The S&P 500 and the NASDAQ are down. We had a positive session yesterday. Investors today, though, they're watching key economic data, including retail sales and weekly jobless claims, along with Netflix earnings after the closing bell. And speaking of investments, how about this? The U.S. Treasury has unveiled a new gold-colored $1 coin featuring President Donald J. Trump. As part of the nation's 250th anniversary celebration, the U.S. Mint says production has already begun, and the coin is expected to be released this fall. A lot of people are asking online, how can we order? Well, to order, you need to create an account on the U.S. Mint's website, and they will notify you when the coins go on sale. In your news to go as you start your day, let's take a look at the president's schedule today. He has a pretty busy schedule. At 8 o'clock this morning, he held an executive meeting. At 9:30, he is meeting with Senator Darlene Graham, sister of Lindsey Graham. That meeting should be going on right now in the Oval Office. Then at 11 o'clock, he will meet with the president of El Salvador. At 2 o'clock, he will hold a policy meeting. At 5 o'clock, he will hold signing time. And don't forget, his speech to the nation tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. The topic expected to be on elections, the security, and also lack thereof. We will air it right here on Lindell TV, also on our social media accounts. And as always, for more news headlines, you can visit LINDELLTV.com. You can also download the Lindell TV app on your phones and your tablets. It is free in the App Store. And many of you are chiming in online to President Trump endorsing Mike Lindell for governor. We encourage you to join the conversation. So let's take a look this morning at some of the reaction. We'll start with Colonel Conrad Reynolds, who says, "My friend Mike Lindell is going to be a great governor." DC Drano on X says this, "Mike Lindell has sacrificed more than almost anyone besides President Trump in service of fixing our rigged elections. The deep state and their media puppets have been trying to bankrupt him for years for exposing election crimes. Minnesota," he says, "needs Governor Lindell." Then the mayor, Rudy Giuliani, he says this, "President Trump endorses Mike Lindell for governor of Minnesota. Mike Lindell, my dear friend, overcame odds to become one of the greatest entrepreneurs of our time. He is also one of the greatest patriots of our generation." And taking a look at what a few viewers are saying this morning. One viewer wrote in saying this, "Vanessa, I hope that Mike Lindell wins governor of Minnesota. I am very happy that the lunatic clown Tim Walz will not be running for an additional term." Thanks for that comment. And finally, another viewer wrote in saying, "Godspeed, Mr. Lindell. I am voting for you. Thanks for all you have done on election integrity." And thanks to all of you for your support, your prayers for Mike, and your comments online. We encourage you to always join in the conversation. And thank you for being a part of the show. And if you're in Minnesota, go out and vote. If you have a loved one in Minnesota, make sure you tell them to go out and vote as well. And we leave you today in prayer from the book of Psalms. The Bible says this, "Let the morning bring me word of your unfailing love, for I have put my trust in you. Show me the way I should go, for to you I entrust my life." And again, that is from the book of Psalms. And that'll do it for us here this morning. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you all same time, same place tomorrow. And we leave you today with views from around our nation's capital. Have a great day.
Talk is cheap when it comes to saving our country. We're not just any cell phone service provider. We're Patriot Mobile. It's not enough to simply talk about values. We live them. Defending life, protecting our First and Second Amendments, and celebrating our military and first responder heroes. We're boots on the ground making a difference. We're America's only Christian conservative wireless provider with nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks and 100% U.S.-based customer service. Join Patriot Mobile today and make an impact every time you use your cell phone.
America's founders warned that without knowledge and virtue, no nation can remain free. Yet through the steady infiltration of Marxist ideology, we have been stripped of both, and we are no longer a moral and educated people. To save America, we must spark nothing less than a national renaissance. That's why you need Freedom Talk Magazine, the journal of truth and virtue. We cultivate enlightened thinking and principled living, offering unique insights into the issues and remarkable people defining our world. Sign up today for your free subscription to Freedom Talk Magazine and join the new American Renaissance.
Mike Lindell here. The radical left and the deep state aren't just coming for our freedoms, they're coming after our money too. For years, they've been destroying our economy from the inside out with reckless spending, open borders, woke policies that crush our businesses. And now they've left us with an inflation disaster that's wiping out the savings of our hardworking families. They don't want us to be independent. They want us to be dependent on the government. Well, that's not going to happen on my watch. That's why I partner with American Independence Gold. It's a veteran-owned company that's helping patriotic Americans fight back by protecting our savings with real physical gold and silver. And right now they're giving away up to $15,000 in free silver and a free gold IRA kit. A portion of all the profits go to 9/11 first responders and veterans at the Tunnels to Towers Foundation. The deep state can't touch your gold, so visit MikeLindellGold.com or call 844-714-4653 right now. That's MikeLindellGold.com. Take back control. You know, most people think water's just about filtration, but in reality, it's about balance. What gets removed, what gets left behind, and how the water actually behaves once you drink it. Well, many traditional systems focus on one thing, removal. Reverse osmosis, for example, strips water down completely. It may sound ideal, but it removes minerals that our bodies need. The Century Wellness System was designed with a different philosophy. It removes common contaminants like chlorine, fluoride, and PFAS, while restoring key minerals like magnesium and improving alkalinity. It also does all this without tanks and without wastewater, and without requiring a complicated installation. It installs in about 15 minutes under your sink, so instead of overcorrecting, it brings your water back into balance. Please visit CenturyH2O.com and use promo code Lindell for 10% off your next purchase. Well, hello everyone. Well, I'm turning 65, and let me tell you, Medicare has me confused. All the junk mail and the robocalls and everything else, it honestly feels like they rigged the system just to confuse us. Well, that's why I partnered and working with Chapter. They're independent, and they don't work for big insurance. They work for us. In fact, they're the only advisor that compares every single plan nationwide to find what actually fits your needs. If you're on the right plan, they tell you. If you're not, they're going to help you switch. And it's completely free. Just last year, seniors saved about $1,100 by finding a better plan with Chapter. So call Chapter at 234-LINDELL or go to askchapter.org/Lindell.
When you read one news source, you get one side. When you read two sources, you get an argument. Read 40 sources, and you get the truth.